For a moment, you think of calling for a ride.
No coffee.
Hot chocolate.
Wear a sweater.
Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues after this.
The Storm Tracker 7 team is here to warn you when winter weather will affect your day.
And as we go through the overnight after our coating of snow, we'll wake up tomorrow morning with a few snow flurries.
We are also here to help you make the most of the season. Is it a good day to build a snowman? Should you take the kids sledding? Check out our app before you head out the door.
We're going to bottom out to temperatures in the upper 20s.
With meteorologists Dr. Dave Walker, Zach Petty, and me, Aaron Myler, we've got weather coverage you can count on. 7 News, working for you.
Find your style with Patriot Lighting and save with 11% off everything now at Menards. Patriot Lighting ceiling fans reduce energy costs all year round. We carry a great selection of styles and finishes, so you're sure to find the look that's right for you. Get 11% off everything for your home right now at Menards. Good through Saturday, March 13th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster with a look at your local weather forecast for your Thursday.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
A fresh take on local, regional, and national news. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Well, it sounds like we had a little trouble there with Darnell, so I guess I should tell you it's going to be a warm day today, but it ain't one yet this morning. It is a cold morning. Clear, sunny, nice looking outside. If you look outside, say, ooh, looking good. But it's only 26 degrees right now, 26 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. There's a feels like of 18, about 8-mile-an-hour wind blowing around out there, so feels like temperature 18. 26 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 26 degrees at the home studios here in Elm Grove, and 26 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group studios in downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. And that's 26 degrees outside, 30 degrees inside my home studio. I realize now, if you just joined us, for the second time in a couple of months, my furnace went kaputski. So we had no heat last night. My wife and I slept in the living room, and we've got an electric furnace, an electric heater in our fireplace, and we had an extra space heater, and it was nice and warm and toasty in there. And it's still nice and warm and toasty in there. And I took a break and went out to the other room during the break. I should have moved all this equipment into the other room where it's nice and warm. It is 30 degrees, 30 here in my home studio. Started out at 40, dropped down to 30. Now, I got a text off the text line at 304-214-1600. Someone said, well, how could it drop so much so fast? The little temperature gauge that I have here, you can see it if you're looking at my Facebook page, Facebook live feed. It actually was in another room before I started the show, and my wife brought it in here just so I know what it is in here. So I think the other room was 40, and then when it got, I don't know what it actually was in here when it started going down. But it's 30 degrees. Oh, jeez. Okay. Enough of my complaining. Life goes on. Coming up today, we'll talk about the COVID relief bill. Senator Manchin put a long delay in getting that bill approved, but it did finally pass the Senate yesterday or over the weekend. Governor Justice opened the state's businesses back to full capacity. Debate begins over the governor's proposed income tax reductions down in Charleston. A Texas class on chivalry create some controversy. The Looney Tunes character Pepe Le Pew is getting some criticism, and A.G. Morrissey is giving a look at some of the top consumer complaints from the Northern Panhandle. We will talk about all of that coming up this morning. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, please like it and share us. Hit the like button and the share button so you can share our Facebook Live feed with everybody. We're on Facebook Live on my page and on the Watchdogs page. You can also watch us on watchdognetwork.com, where the feed is as well. And at the end of the day, if you want to catch all of anything you missed, you can always go to our YouTube channel and watch us there. Let's talk about what's going on down in Charleston, and to help me do that, State Senator Bill Ehlenfeld is with us. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Howard. How are you doing?
I'm cold. My furnace isn't working, so it makes it cold, but you know what keeps me on my toes? I guess it keeps me on my toes.
Keeps you
guys, you guys have been on your toes a good bit down there, I guess, because, man, things are still moving pretty quickly, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Bills are moving through both chambers pretty quickly. A lot of single reference bills, so they're just going to one committee, then they're headed to the floor. And then sometimes we'll make changes to bills that come over from the House, and they do the same, but they get back to us pretty quickly, and then then we'll vote again on a bill that's remarkably, or quite similar to what we had already voted on, and that's happened a few times already. And we don't typically get things back from the House this early in the session. That's normally an end of the session kind of thing, but it's different this year.
I don't know how to phrase this question, so have you passed anything good? It seems like everything I've been hearing about is at least anathema to me. The expansion of charter schools, the expansion of the school vouchers, trying to take more power to the state and give less to the municipalities and so on. It seems like every time I turn around, there's another bill pending that I don't like. But I'm curious, have you done anything good?
Well, the bills like that you just referenced are the ones that obviously get the most attention, because some of them are just shocking that anyone would have the nerve to even introduce the bills, and then they get onto a committee agenda, then they get to the floor and they get passed. And so, and there are some bills that, for example, the one where the majority leader in the House introduced a bill that would prohibit employers from putting a microchip inside of you to track you. So that, I don't think, has made an agenda. It certainly hasn't made it over to the Senate. I hope it doesn't, but that's from the House majority leader. But so those kinds of shocking bills get a lot of attention, and some of these bills, the charter school bill, for example, that actually passed, the COVID immunity bill, that even if you intentionally harm someone related to COVID, there's no liability. Those kinds of things get a lot of headlines. But have we done anything good? I think so. They don't get much attention, but there are some bills related to tightening up laws related to sexual assault, doing more to protect victims of sexual violence and domestic violence. Those kinds of bills don't get a lot of attention, but they're really important. I work closely behind the scenes with the State Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the state sexual assault help centers, and they're on top of things. They're really good about identifying just minor problems in bills, minor problems in statutes that can be fixed through new legislation. So that has happened. Then there was also a zombie property bill, kind of a creative name to where you have these properties that are, they're like zombies. They just sort of linger in your community. We've got them in Wheeling, and the legislator from Huntington pushed this bill through because they have the same problem down there, where you have these properties that just tend to linger, and they're slowing down the development of a neighborhood. They sort of bring down a neighborhood when you have to drive by those properties all the time. So we passed something that will help to clean those types of properties up. And there's probably some other things that I'm not thinking of right now, but there are some positive things that we're doing, and then there's some things that aren't so positive.
One of the general concerns I've had, well, a couple of general concerns. One is everything moves so fast. As you point out, single referencing bills often leads to lack of adequate review ahead of time. Also, how many bills seem to be moving through without adequate fiscal notes attached to them or adequate financial analysis of what they're going to cost? Certainly I think the school voucher bill was one that kind of caught some people by surprise. They kept on making amendments and expanding it, and until somebody said, what's this going to cost? When they finally did get a fiscal note, it was like, holy crap, we can't afford this. So, I mean, this business of trying to move along without giving adequate attention to the cost of things is of concern, I would think.
It is. That same problem came up with the charter school bill, and in the bill they put in a percentage of students who would be eligible to enroll in a charter school, whether it's a bricks and mortar charter school or a virtual charter school, and it was up to 10% of the public school population in the state would be eligible to switch over to charter schools. And no one had done the math. There wasn't an adequate fiscal analysis. And then on the floor, my colleague, Senator Mike Romano from Harrison County, through questioning of the Senate Education Chair, Senator Rucker, was able to just sort of do the math on the floor, which isn't really the best way to do it, but it hadn't come out any other time. On the floor, he did the math, and he said, so what you're telling me is that up to 25,000 students could be poured into this system, and this is what the cost could be based upon a per student cost. And so what you're telling me is this could cost $196 million. He just went through those steps on the floor, and there was no pushback, nobody disputed that, and that's what we were left with. And I don't think everybody realized that would be the cost. And of course, that's money coming out of the public school system and being shifted into a different system. And so we would be taking money away from a system that already, in many ways, is underfunded. We've got oversized classrooms. We have underpaid teachers. We have vacancies that we can't fill. We can't hire enough people who are specialists in math or science in these different areas of education. So anyhow, there's definitely some financial recklessness that goes on down here that most people don't realize. I certainly didn't realize it before I came down here, and I'm still in my freshman term here. But there are some bills that are introduced that sometimes never make it through, thank goodness, that really would do some serious financial harm to the state and really would cause the state to run afoul of the federal government. And West Virginia depends upon federal funding probably more than any other state in the country. And if we have time, I can tell you about a bill that ran through finance the other day that really would have caused some serious problems with the federal government. And nobody thought about the problems it would cause until we identified and highlighted those problems through some questioning in committee, and we were able to stop it.
What was that bill?
It was a bill that would have taken 4 different agencies, to include the Department of Environmental Protection, taken all of their special revenue and moved it all over into general revenue. And so we've got agencies like the ABCC, the DEP, the Labor Department, Forestry. They have a lot of special revenue accounts, and by that I mean they might charge a fee for something. So the Office of Oil and Gas, they generate all of their revenue. That's part of the DEP. They generate all of their revenue when somebody applies to drill a new well, to engage in fracking and to drill a new well. They pay a fee. That fee goes into the Office of Oil and Gas, and then the Office of Oil and Gas has money to pay for inspectors and staff to monitor construction of a drill, drilling itself, and all of the 70,000 wells that we have in the state. The bill that ran through finance the other day would have taken all the money out of special revenue, moved it over into general revenue. Other accounts within DEP, including ones related to air quality and water quality, all would have been shifted over into general revenue. The problem with that is that the EPA audits all of these accounts, the federal EPA. The EPA requires that monies for certain things be kept separately. And so I had the attorney, the general counsel for DEP, come up and testify. And I said, are you concerned at all with this bill? And he said, I'm very concerned with it because the EPA is going to not like the fact that we're taking money out of these special accounts that they can audit, keep eyes on, and monitor, and put it all over with all the other money, basically putting it all into your joint bank account. Think about your joint bank account and you might have in your household. Well, we're going to move everything over there and not keep it separate anymore. And we've done that before, and the feds have come in and said, no, you need to move that money back. We've done other things since I've been here where we have changed laws or moved money around that's really upset the federal government. But sometimes people don't think about that when they introduce these bills. And that bill that I just mentioned, we were able to fix it for the most part, and we got DEP carved out and forestry carved out. Labor's still in there. We were able to fix it. But a lot of these bills are introduced not because it's good policy, but because it's more of a power grab. It's more of a way for someone or some individuals to control more of the money. And once it's in general revenue, then the legislature can do more to control the money and move it to other parts where maybe it shouldn't go.
Your minority leader in the Senate, Stephen Baldwin, wrote a piece over the weekend called "People Aren't Paying Attention." I don't know if you saw that or not, but he basically says he's getting fewer emails, fewer communication from his constituents, and things and of course nobody can be there in the building, so without certain exceptions. So people just aren't paying as much attention this year, which makes it easier to move things through. Would you concur with that?
I would. It's not that I don't get a lot of emails. I still do, and they tend to be geared towards certain hot-button bills. But I would agree there's not as many people paying attention. Fortunately, we do have people with eyes on these bills, and whether these are environmental bills, I've got some really good people behind the scenes who I'm in regular communication with. In fact, I've got a call with them later this morning just to talk about the dangers of some of the bills that are being introduced. But all in all, yeah, I think, on the education issues, when you talk about the charter school bill, you talk about this ESA bill that's coming through, I had very little contact from people in public education, almost none. I mean, it was remarkable. And we were close. We were just a few votes away from killing that in the Senate. It wasn't an overwhelming passage of that bill. We just needed a couple of more swing votes, and we could have killed that bill. So I'm not quite sure if it's just because of the fact that the Capitol shut down, but it's been much quieter than it has been in the past.
Well, I would think that has to have a big impact on it. People who have vested interests and concerns usually are there and watching and can talk to you in the hallways and that kind of stuff, and none of that's happening this year. I don't want to be one of the media guys that take us to the big stories, the headline stories, when, as you point out, there's a lot of smaller stories that should be getting as much attention. But let me jump to the big story of what we thought would be the big story, and I guess still might be, and that's the governor's income tax proposal, income tax reduction proposal. Has there actually been a bill introduced yet? Do you know?
If there has, I haven't seen it. And I understand it's going to come through the House side, not the Senate side. So it may have dropped over on the House side. That the strategy is to try to get it through there first and then bring it over to the Senate, although there's been regular communications between the governor's staff and both chambers. The governor is actively lobbying delegates and senators. He's had 2 different meetings with members of my caucus. He's got a team of people that are in regular contact with legislators, including a former Senator, Paul Hardesty. So he's working it hard. And as you know, there are a lot of pieces in that bill and his plan that have a lot of people up in arms, including the beverage industry, soda pop, cigarettes. Big tobacco is upset about this. Owners of convenience stores are very concerned about it, especially on the border. I had a call coming down here yesterday with the owner of the gas station right on the border up in Chester, up in Hancock County, and he told me that the increase in the tobacco tax would just cause him to shut down. He said income tax won't matter because his place is going to be shut down. They've been open for generations up there. So you have a lot of different constituencies who are upset about the way that he plans to pay for this, and it's a heavy lift for the governor with the way he's got this package.
You mentioned the sin taxes, tobacco, alcohol, or tobacco, soda pop, and I think he was going to throw alcohol in there too. That seemed to be where he's going with his last town hall meeting. So those taxes, but also a significant hike in the general sales tax, a 1.9% hike in sales tax, which in cities like Wheeling and Moundsville and other places, Weirton, I think, where they have a municipal income tax to begin with, or municipal sales tax, I should say, to begin with, you're putting the tax rate up close to 9%.
Yeah, we'd have one of the highest tax rates in the entire country, and it's going to be real easy for people on the border to go over to their neighboring states and buy some of those things that they typically would purchase in West Virginia. If there's a big difference in that tax, people are going to travel to go and find their goods cheaper. So he has decided to take on a lot of very powerful groups that have high-paid lobbyists who are going to push back really hard against this. And so I do not think that the way he's put this together will ultimately pass. I think he's picked too many fights, and he's going to have to back down on some of these if he wants to have any type of a tax repeal pass this session.
He said over the weekend or on Friday, I lose track of time, but he said recently that for people who are worried about the taxes that are increasing, don't get so upset about that because we're going to see this great population growth as a result of the income tax reduction, and it will eventually offset any tax increases you have. Do you believe that we're going to see, if this passes, if we see a 60% reduction this year and maybe a zero, take it down to zero at some point, but do you think we're going to see this gigantic influx of hundreds of thousands of people into the state?
I don't. I think we might continue to see population reduction, which is where it's been trending since I don't know the exact year, but we've been trending downward and one of the few states in the country that has lost population. I don't see people flooding into the state, and part of that plan that he rolled out, Howard, has some natural growth built into it, just money that he pulls out of the air and says the economy's going to grow by this much, and that's going to make up for some of this. There's a shortfall. The way he's rolled this out, we've got to find $2 billion ultimately if he repeals this tax in its entirety. There's not enough money in his plan to make up that difference. We still have a shortfall, and even with that, he's talking about just natural growth of the economy, generating additional revenue through more people coming here. I just don't see it happening.
A line from Washington Center on Budget and Policy, they've been pushing this pretty hard. No income taxes doesn't mean lower taxes. And I know the governor says everybody is going to see their overall burden reduced, but the numbers don't really seem to imply that. You may have an income tax reduction, and God knows, like everybody else, I'd love to not pay income tax. I mean, on a personal level. But it'll be offset to a large extent by the increase in the sales tax and by the increase in other taxes that he's moving through. No income tax doesn't mean low tax in general.
No, you're right. A lot of people under the plan that's been rolled out will ultimately have to pay more. They'll see a reduction in their income tax, but they'll pay more for other things, and in the end, it's a net loss for some people. The wealthiest will see a net gain, and people like Jim Justice will see a net gain because they're going to pay so much less in income tax. They're going to save $65,000 on every $1 million that they earn. That's no big deal if they're going to have to pay a few extra dollars for soda pop or cigarettes or wine. but the numbers at this point don't work, and he is, when we elected him initially, we thought, well, this is a successful businessman. This is a billionaire. He is going to wheel and deal, and he's going to bring prosperity to West Virginia because of his great business acumen. And what we didn't know, and there's a really interesting story that just came out in the Wall Street Journal today, is just how leveraged he is, how much his empire is just sort of teetering. And there's this company that he is done a lot of business with called Greensill, and it's just an amazing article about how much money he has borrowed from this company that just had all of its assets frozen in order to keep his coal company afloat. And the most interesting thing about the piece is that he had to give up ownership in his company in order to borrow the money, which is, I don't walk in those circles and don't live in that world, but according to the Wall Street Journal, it's very unusual to give up equity in your company in order to borrow money. So my point being, he might not be the great businessman that we all thought. I think he got lucky. I think he's got a lot of assets, but he's highly leveraged, and I don't think we can just take his word because he's Jim Justice that this is a great plan. I've seen too many other pieces of legislation come through that you think have been vetted and that they're well thought out and that they're going to be great for the state. But just as I mentioned a few minutes ago, there are some really bad ideas that come through the legislature, and we don't have an independent group of economists looking at all of these. We don't have like a congressional budget office like they do in D.C. We don't have that. The best thing we have going is the Center for Budget and Policy that you mentioned a moment ago. Those people really put eyes on things and tell us the truth, but they don't have a vote, and they're not elected. They can just they can inform us, and we're relying upon legislators who are driven by the next election. They're driven by politics. They're driven by their legacies, and they're not always driven by what's in the best financial interest of the state.
I would concur. And again, what I like, and that's why I have them on the show so often, Center on Budget and Policy actually puts numbers to things. They actually look at what's being proposed and say, okay, but here's the actual number behind it. And sometimes you go, whoa, when you see their numbers. Bill, I have to move on. I appreciate your time this morning. I appreciate the effort you do down there. We'll be touching base again soon, I'm sure. And I'm sure this income tax thing will be one of the bigger issues moving forwards, as so many of the other things have already gotten taken care of. By the way, quickly, do you concur with the governor in reopening the state's businesses 100%?
It makes me very nervous. I hope that business owners will be careful and continue to enforce some of those recommendations of keeping people distant, not going too far with this. The weather's going to help because you're going to be able to put people outside and keep people safe. But it makes me nervous that he's doing it so quickly. I wish he would have waited a little bit longer, but I also understand that our small businesses, in particular our restaurants and bars, have really suffered, and they need to get moving again. But it makes me nervous.
Appreciate your point of view. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Howard. Take care.
State Senator Bill Ehlenfeld checking in this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. We'll stick with the Mountain State politics coming up with Brad McElhaney. We will talk about the governor's decision to reopen the state basically for all businesses, but keep your mask on, he says. And we'll talk some more about the income tax proposal as well. That's coming up next on the Watchdog Morning Show. But first, some headlines for you. And Tony is in. He's got the Morning Mountaineer Report, too.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your start to the work week.
Watch.
All right, sorry about that, Biff. I just couldn't take a break there. I got Brad coming up next. I tried to get him at 9:10, but he was already on with Fred Persinger at 9:10, so.
Americans struggle with hunger, yet more than 40% of the food we produce is thrown out. At Kroger, we know we can do something about this. We're donating more food to local food banks through our partnership with Feeding America, and we're working with World Wildlife Fund to end food waste. But we can't do it alone, and we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste. Visit thekrogerco.com to learn how you can help.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on backyard favorites like grill-ready hamburgers and fresh-picked strawberries? Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the fresh you love with tools like the Kroger app, where you can find personalized coupons on top of weekly sales, plus rewards like fuel points, giving you prices that are lower than the everyday low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
All right, so what word or words have you used the most since West Virginia's loss to Oklahoma State on Saturday at the Coliseum? Easy now. It's a family report. The one word that has stuck in my mind ever since that stunning loss was this one: how. How could the Mountaineers play so poorly with so much on the line? You've probably known it by now that West Virginia, in its hand, had a number 2 seed to next week's Big 12 Conference tournament and could deliver head coach Bob Huggins his 900th career win, making him just the 6th coach in Division I history to win 900 games. The scene was set. Everything was ready. The video celebrating Huggs' accomplishment was ready to be played on the huge new video screen, and then West Virginia played one of its poorest games of the season. It got me thinking, when was the last time West Virginia stubbed its toe so badly in such a great opportunity? And I thought back, and I go all the way back, 16 years ago, 2005, regular season finale. West Virginia is absolutely clawing to the NCAA tournament bubble, and it lays an egg in a game at Seton Hall. They lose 66-63. It puts all kinds of pressure on them as they went to the Big East tournament. And you know what they did? They rolled. Victories over Providence, Boston College, Villanova in the semis, met Syracuse in the championship, and then all the way to the Elite Eight. Just fingers crossed. Maybe history can repeat itself. We'll find out together later this week. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
This is Joe Mazzola, Health Commissioner at Franklin County Public Health. The COVID-19 pandemic is impacting us all in new ways. The stress of COVID-19 has resulted in a rise in drug and alcohol use, and drug misuse can happen in your home. 42% of teens who misuse prescription pills get them from their parents' medicine cabinets. Visit don'tliveindenial.org to learn how to dispose of your leftover pills and talk to your kids about opioids.
Hey man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it. Hey Mike! I need 2 Coors Lights!
Sure thing!
With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time. Here you go.
Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice-cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
The Valley's most interesting conversations continue now on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Imagination sets in. Pretty soon I'm singing. Looking out my back door.
Looking out my back door, I see some beautiful sunshine and clear skies. It's looking nice. Going to be a nice warm day today. Getting into the mid-50s. I like the sound of that, but it ain't there right now. 26 degrees still at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 26 degrees with a feels-like temperature of 18 degrees because of a bit of wind blowing around. So 26 at the airport, 26 here at my home studios in Elm Grove, and 26 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Just got done talking to State Senator Bill Ehlenfeld about some of these issues. Thought we'd continue our conversation about some of the big stories out of Charleston today. And to help me do that, as always, Brad McElhenney from Metro News. Brad, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Howard.
So I always ask this question. Is there a bill on the income tax introduced yet? Senator Ehlenfeld said he hadn't seen one, but he thought it might be pending in the House, already in the House. Has there been a bill introduced yet?
I think the governor has sent up a draft bill that needs to go through a few sort of back office steps, just process things, and it should be ready soon. If not today, I'm not really sure about kind of a timetable. But even when it is introduced, it'll be assigned to committee, likely House Finance, if it's going through the House side, and who knows? There's a lot of latitude there on when you would take up such a bill. So the governor has sent something up, but it's not necessarily popped out into. It's like if you're playing pinball and you've pulled back the pinball launcher and the ball is going up the chute, but it hasn't yet activated into play where you can bang the sides.
It hasn't been going bong, bong, bong.
That's about where it is. Yeah, that's where it is.
Gotcha. Of course, the governor has outlined his plan in pretty good detail. He may modify some of this before it gets to a bill stage, but I think we've got a pretty good picture of it. Are you hearing any reaction at all from senators, delegates on either side of the aisle now that he's kind of laid out the details of this?
Well, it was pretty fresh, and what I began to hear initially was pretty cautious statements. So, we'll take a look and we'll see. Hoppy had Senate President Blair on Friday, and of course, there's probably no one more influential in the legislature than Blair is. But he said he could vote for it right now in the current shape that it's in. Says that he is in favor of the concept of the income tax elimination, Happy didn't get into the other side of it too much with Senator Blair, and I don't know if that was kind of because of the stage we are in the argument. Maybe at this point you don't want to, jump in and say, but what about all these other taxes on the other side? But that's the reality of it. You're cutting more than $1 billion of income tax initially, and then you're making up for that by raising a variety of other taxes, almost $900 million. Not quite getting there to balance it out. Senator Blair did touch on it.
Local weather forecast for your third.
He thinks that consumption taxes are the future. Talked mainly about people who are coming to West Virginia from the outside world in terms of tourism or passing through the state, and those folks would pay the tax. Did not get into the opposite side of that. All the West Virginians who live along the border, who, as Senator Ehlenfeld said in the segment before me, would certainly be tempted to just hop across that border and buy whatever they need. So didn't fully get into it with Senator Blair. I was really interested in what Senator Ehlenfeld had to say about it, and he is attuned to something that I've been trying to watch, which is the various societal groups that are going to be taxed more, are going to be affected by this. Surely there's going to be pushback from those groups, and it's starting now. And then this issue about how the regular citizen may be affected by an increased sales tax, even if you think you may be subject to the income tax cut. Well, what is the trade-off on the other side? And that is what every household in the state is measuring right now.
Yeah, I know the governor has said that everybody will essentially benefit from this. But the reality is that we're reducing, and again, I repeat this all the time. Hey, I'd love to not pay income tax. I mean, as a goal to be wished for, I'm in for that. I'd love to not pay income tax. But we would reduce or eliminate the income tax, but we're then going to be taxed elsewhere. A lower or no income tax doesn't necessarily mean lower taxes in general. In point of fact, it's going to mean higher taxes on probably most of the average middle West Virginian. At least that seems to be the numbers that I'm looking at. I don't think you can avoid talking about that. I don't think you can just gloss over that.
I don't either. I mean, households in the state need to know what they're facing here. This is a big deal. So the income tax cut would be a major policy step, and would be, if you look at that in isolation, anybody who pays income tax, I mean, surely you'd welcome it. But if you look at the trade-offs, which is the potential of cuts to government services, and the most likely, the easiest ones for the state to get to would be in higher education and healthcare. So you need to consider that. But also, the governor is talking about raising the consumer sales tax to 7.9%. And every chart I look at, that would put West Virginia at the highest in the nation. California, I think, going by my flawed memory, California at about 7.5%. Puerto Rico, if you throw Puerto Rico in there, much higher, about 11.5%. Where West Virginia at the tippy top of those tax rates.
And we can't forget, I mean, certainly I can't forget, because this is where I am, we can't forget that in Wheeling and Moundsville, and I think Weirton, not to mention several other cities around the state, we've got an additional 1% of the city income tax. So in the city of Wheeling, we're at 8.9%.
Yeah, right. And that is becoming more and more the case. There are a lot of cities around West Virginia that are like that. So if you live within them, that's another factor that you're going to have to face. And the governor hasn't talked about that so much. Senator Blair did, and talked about generally supporting local rule, but having been concerned about the effect of that additional penny tax on people's pocketbooks. But I didn't felt like he necessarily got into how that extra penny would play off of what would be the highest sales tax in the nation. And the governor, I don't think has really emphasized that either, because it doesn't go to his proposal. What the governor has said is that the way he describes it, and again, I know others take issue, but he continues to describe it as, overall, this is going to be money in the pockets of West Virginians. And I think he's counting on, for those who don't pay much income tax, he's talking about $52 million in rebates, tax rebates for the lowest income households. But the governor certainly casting it at all these town halls as something that would benefit the pocketbooks of most West Virginians. But as you and Senator Uhlenfeld mentioned, when a group like the Center on Budget and Policy crunches the numbers, that's not what they find. They find that 60% of West Virginia households would be paying more in taxes through these increased sales taxes, generally the sales tax, but the other things that West Virginians buy, such as the soda pop, some beer, some cigarettes, all those things eventually will add up.
The governor, I think when asked last week about this at one of his town hall meetings, it says, he keeps on going back to, it'll all work out in the end because we're going to have this huge influx of people coming into the state, and that's going to sort of raise all of our ships, so to speak. First place, I don't buy the argument. It's just me. I don't think we're going to see hundreds of thousands of people come rushing into the state simply because we have no income tax. And secondly, that's a long-term solution. It's not going to fix the problem of people paying more money in sales taxes relatively immediately.
But that is, you hit it. That is the governor's answer to almost everything when people ask him, well, what about this effect? Well, what about that effect? During these town halls, there was, I took it to be a young citizen who asked about some things that would be enticing for young people on Friday. Bigger cities, some sort of version of the Fairness Act, the guarantee of well, not a guarantee, there's never guarantees, but the likelihood of landing a job where you could make a decent living. And the governor's answer to that was, well, we're going to have population growth. We're going to lure people here and have a surge of population out of this income tax proposal. A variety of other things about if retailers and restaurants might have a harder time selling soda pop because the tax is higher. That's an industry that has been affected by the COVID situation so heavily. The governor said, well, we're going to bring in more people because of this, and they're going to have more folks going to those restaurants. When asked about lawyers, accountants, and other professionals being newly instituted with a tax, that was another one where the governor said, well, they're going to have more customers because we're going to lure so many people in. But it's rarely backed up by what I would consider to be evidence. I mean, the governor points to Florida and Tennessee and Alaska, these other states that don't have the tax, but they're in very different situations than West Virginia is.
But in point of fact, I think I'm right, Alaska is actually losing population, are they not?
I am not necessarily aware of Alaska's situation. Alaska, like West Virginia, is an energy-producing state, so that certainly softens the blow for Alaska. But unlike West Virginia, I mean, the amount of oil and gas coming out of Alaska just boggles the mind. It's an enormous amount compared to the population, and that provides a real cushion for Alaska that is not quite apples to oranges with West Virginia.
I've said over and over again, I think you and I have talked about it, the idea of comparing it to Florida is to me ridiculous. Florida has beaches and sand and margaritas and sunshine and, all of those things that make Florida, and golf and all of those things that make Florida, and a low income or a no income tax. And I don't quarrel that that's somewhere on the list of 10 things that people look at, but it's not number one by stretch of the imagination, and we can't compete on those other issues. We don't have sun and sand and beaches, and let's just be brutally honest about it. We have some beautiful scenery and stuff, but we're not comparable to Florida in terms of attracting people. And income tax, in my opinion, just doesn't become a driver of population movement. It is an assist to population movement, but it's not a drive. It's my opinion. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but that's the way I look at it.
Well, I think that's certainly legitimate public discussion. I would like to see more than just a hunch or a promise or, hey, look at Florida, look at Tennessee. Even Tennessee, which is probably more comparable, there are major cities there, major industries, including entertainment, professional sports. It's even Tennessee is a significantly different situation than West Virginia is.
So, is this going to see its way through, do you think? You're going to have a lot of debate and discussion. I mean, talk to me, what's your best sense of what's going to happen when the governor does introduce his bill? What's going to happen with this whole thing?
Great question. And I was really interested in what Senator Ehlenfeld had to say about that. I mean, he was really casting doubt based on these groups that are, going to fight back against it. And it, I think, runs the range from the beverage industry. I don't think the natural gas industry is very happy. Retailers. So all these groups, I think, are going to be calling the senators and delegates that they have the best relationships with to say so. In my mind, I compare it to a very similar plan that the governor touted just 4 years ago when West Virginia was facing a budget crisis, and a lot of these elements were part of a financial proposal that he had, eventually eliminating the income tax, a tiering of energy resources and their severance taxes. There were sales taxes going up, a broadening of the sales taxes. Many of these elements were the same, and it wound up falling apart under its own weight. The Senate majority, the Republicans, largely got behind it, to my recollection, but the House Republicans, the majority, believed that overall these were taxes going up 4 years ago, and so they were against it, and they united with Democrats in the House who thought that this was going to increase regressive taxes while cutting progressive taxes. So it really fell apart in the House based on that sort of combination of things. The other factor at that point was the governor was still a Democrat, and he was dealing with Republican majorities. If it falls apart this time, it might be at least a lot more polite, and a lot of those conversations might take place in the background.
Yeah, plus, I think you and I have both said on this show before, this is each individual aspect of the governor's plan is complex and requires some great detailed conversation and thought. And you put all the parts together, this is an awful lot to assess in a short period of time, and I'm just not sure the lawmakers are going to be able to or want to. And if they do and move it through too quickly, I think we're going to be really distressed after the fact because we've not thought it through all the way. But for now, I got to run, Brad. Appreciate your time this morning. I know you'll be on Poppy today, and we'll follow everything at WVMetroNews.com. And always, my favorite part of the day, reading your tweets.
Thank you, Alex.
All right, talk to you soon. Brad McElhenney, Metro News. It's 9 o'clock. ABC News is already in progress. Let's go over there.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Uttered racist remarks.
Oh, honest to God, Hagen and Meghan and Harry. Gee, many Christmas. Honest to God. Biff, are you there? See if you can pull up Pulse. I'm going to do a little bit of the interview last night. I want to use clip 3 from Entertainment, the entertainment story about Meghan and Harry. Clip 3 is where they talk about worrying about their baby being dark-skinned. maybe clip 5 as well, where he talks about Diana, 3 and 5.
It will include a bottle of new Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, absolutely free. Text CAR to 42424.
I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
This is ONN.
I'm Dave James on the Ohio News Network. Crews searching the Ohio River for the bodies of 2 missing children came up empty-handed after 6 hours of looking yesterday. ONN's Daniel Barnett reports.
Rescue crews and volunteers searched 21 miles of river and river banks in the search for the remains of 6-year-old James Hutchinson and 3-year-old Nilo Lattimore, who were killed in unrelated incidents. Hutchinson's mother, 29-year-old Brittany Gosney, is accused of dragging the boy behind her car while trying to abandon him, then throwing his body in the Ohio River. Authorities say the other child, Nilo Lattimore, was thrown into the Ohio River by 20-year-old Deshaun Brown in December after Brown killed the boy's mother.
A Bowling Green State University student from Delaware County has died after an alleged alcohol-related hazing incident. Clay Gordon with ONN affiliate WBNS TV in Columbus has more.
Sophomore Stone Foltz died after he was on life support. Attorney Sean Alta released a statement on behalf of the family saying, quote, "The death of Stone Foltz is a tragedy. At this time, we are gathering all the facts leading to his untimely death, and we have no interest in commenting on speculation."
An investigation's underway. Pi Kappa Alpha has been placed on interim suspension. Over the weekend, news came that Cleveland rocker Michael Stanley died of lung cancer. The Michael Stanley Band reached the top 40 in the early 1980s with hits He Can't Love You and My Town. Michael Stanley was 72. I'm Dave James on the Ohio News Network.
An MBA from Ohio Dominican University fits your goals and your life.
One thing I try to do with any new challenge I face at work is to ask myself, why am I doing it this way? And really take a look at the process. I learned that here at Ohio Dominican, to think critically and to look at all sides of a challenge.
Earn your MBA 100% online in just 16 months. 7 concentrations available, now including healthcare administration. Get started at ohiodominican.edu/MBA.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Thank you for riding with the Watchdog. Live and local. Just the way you like it.
Live and local conversation for the Ohio Valley continues shortly. Here on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Are you struggling to make payments due to an unexpected financial obligation or loss of income? Are you receiving calls from debt collectors? Are you feeling overwhelmed and unsure of what steps to take next? Then you need the experience and expertise of attorney Tom McIntyre and his staff to help guide you through these temporary hardships. Want to hear more about how Tom can help? Then call 877-456-4155 and receive a free copy of Tom's ebook, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Tom's ebook covers many questions people have about bankruptcy and includes interesting stories about people who tried to avoid filing and people who have filed for bankruptcy. We think you'll be surprised to learn some interesting facts about bankruptcy. Call 877-456-4155.
In a hurry and need to see a doctor? The Woodsdale Health Center and Walk-In Clinic is located across from Little Caesars on National Road. Open 7 to 7 Monday through Friday. Patients can receive primary care, treatment of minor illnesses and injuries, wellness visits and physicals. There's also a lab draw station open from 8 to noon weekdays. A division of Wheeling Hospital, the Woodsdale Health Center is led by family physician Dr. Michael Wilson. Call 304-234-1971. They'll take good care of you.
Does your dog need groomed or walked?
Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your start to the work week. Partly to mostly sunny skies, daytime high near 55 degrees. Overnight low of 41 degrees under partly cloudy conditions. Plenty of sunshine around for your Tuesday with highs in the low 60s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Monday morning. What? It's Monday already? How was your weekend? Not nearly long enough. Today's big day.
What do you mean?
Today is the day we can all go back to work.
You're a weirdo.
Why is that?
I hate Mondays. Mondays are the worst.
Oh, that's optimistic. I admire your optimism. So that means it is opposite day. Nope, it's just Monday.
But it's also
showtime.
Something to think about, something to laugh about, and something to talk about every day. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Well, it is clear and sunny outside, looking nice, going to be warm today, as you heard Darnell say. We'll be in the mid-50s, 60s later in the week. Right now, still, well, we're moving up, and that's good, but right around freezing, 32 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. A little bit of wind blowing around makes it feel like 25 degrees. 32 degrees at the airport, 32 here at my home studios, and 32 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to get to today. We haven't gotten to it yet. The COVID relief bill passed the U.S. Senate. But Joe Manchin really caused a big, long delay in finally getting a final vote, because he was ticked off. He hadn't been told about some changes that were made. We'll get into that a little bit this morning. A Texas class on chivalry has created some controversy. The Looney Tunes character Pepe Le Pew is accused of being part of rape culture. It's a cartoon, people. Patrick Morrissey has a list of the top consumer complaints coming out of the Northern Panhandle. A West Virginia sheriff is changing parties because of something the National Democratic Party did. Kentucky is putting in effect, or is trying to put into effect, a Don't Insult the Cop law. We'll have our Watchdog Madness contest coming up this morning. We want to talk about the governor opening up state's businesses in West Virginia to full capacity. And we were talking last hour with Senator Ehlenfeld and with Brad McElhenney about the governor's proposed income tax reduction plan. And again, I think I'm going to consider maybe finding a different way to phrase that, because while that is what the governor is touting, that he wants to reduce the income tax, and the plan calls for a 60% reduction in income taxes, it also calls for a huge increase in other taxes. And the one that affects most of us is a 1.9% increase in the general sales tax. which will put West Virginia sales tax at the highest in the country. And then you add in the extra 1% in Wheeling and Moundsville and elsewhere of a city tax, and you've got 8.9%, almost a 9% sales tax. So it really, the governor calls it an income tax reduction, which it is as a point of fact, but it also is a tax increase, a big tax increase. And we're going to spend a lot of time on this. We did last hour. We'll do some more of that coming up a little bit later on. But I suppose, first of all, Biffy, we should really talk about the most important story of the day, the one that is dominating the news that everybody is talking about, that I know at your household over the weekend, you all were gathered around the TV and you watched the show and you were talking about it, and you probably picked up the phone and called your friends and said, "Oh, are you watching this show? Did you catch all this?" And that, of course, was the interview with Oprah Winfrey and Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. We were all gathered around the TV watching that, right, Biff?
We were watching something, but it wasn't that. It was golf.
Golf?
Yeah.
Didn't watch the big interview?
Not 1 second of it. Had no desire to watch it. Could care less.
Has to be a big story. ABC News has made it their top story of the morning all morning long. An interview with a couple of disenfranchised British royalty. I truly don't understand it. You know who we should have brought in to talk about that? I should have done this and never thought about it.
Victoria.
Yep, Victoria Jones. Exactly right. Maybe I'll get her tomorrow, see if she'll come in and talk about it, because I don't get this. Again, literally this morning, ABC News. We've got the COVID bill that passed the Senate. We've got the Andrew Cuomo controversy that's going on. We've got COVID issues that are still pending. Vaccines and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we got like real news. And the top story is Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are interviewed by Oprah? Am I just getting too jaded in my old age? Am I just becoming too much? My wife yesterday accused me of being a curmudgeon. Am I just a curmudgeon on this stuff, Biffy?
Well, I mean, not on this, I don't think so. I mean, why would we sit down and even watch this? I mean, it's the farthest thing from my mind. Great. You know, they're going to sit down and talk about Oprah and air out their, problems and everything. I mean that's great. To some people, yeah, that they may want to sit down and watch that, but I sure as heck didn't want to. I knew it was going to be on and everything, and saw all the promos and everything going on, but that's just something that I don't care.
If you're the kind of person who likes to watch daytime television, and I'm not talking about CNN, I'm talking about, some of those daytime TV shows, I guess maybe this is a big deal. Or if you're a tabloid newspaper reader when you check out at the supermarket, I guess. I've never understood the royal family interest to begin with. But I really don't understand these two who disenfranchise themselves from the royal family.
Yeah, I mean,
The article here, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry sat down with Oprah Winfrey for a much-anticipated, much-teased interview on CBS. The interview proved to be filled with drama. Oh, come on. Filled with drama?
I mean, they did something that probably nobody has done before, and great, good for them. You did something that nobody else has done, and you broke away and went about your separate ways, or your separate way, and did whatever. Great, good for you. I don't care.
A year ago, it was January of 2020, when they stepped down from their royal roles. And as you say, that was kind of an interesting story. That's a story that was worth paying some attention to. You don't often see members of the royal family actively giving up their royal roles. Okay, well, it was a year ago. Okay, they gave up their roles. They're living in America. They're celebrities. And it makes a perfect Oprah interview. I don't quarrel with that. It's a perfect Oprah interview, right? What I quarrel with is that ABC News, and I'm picking on them, but others do, ABC News is making their top story of the day. I saw a tweet over the weekend, and I don't know who it was from. I don't think it's from anybody of any substance, just a tweet on my Twitter page. And someone said, I know what Monday's big story will be with all of the other things happening in the world. It'll be Meghan and Harry. And son of a gun, it was. I did not watch, Biffy, I'm with you, I didn't watch one single second of it, had no interest in watching one single second of it. Here's some things. I learned this only from my newspaper article here. Among the wildest revelations from the interview, Meghan had to learn how to curtsy 5 minutes before meeting the Queen. Ooh, wow, that's breaking news. Meghan Markle had to learn how to curtsy. Gotta be kidding me. Kate Middleton made Meghan cry. Breaking news, Kate Middleton made Meghan cry.
So Meghan's a softie.
I watched a sad TV show yesterday. It made me cry too. I mean, really and truly. Now, this is kind of interesting. Meghan and Harry got married in secret before their big televised wedding. It's kind of interesting. Meghan says the Queen has always been warm to her. All righty then. Now, one thing I did find interesting. Meghan says that when they announced they were going to have a child, their first child, they have a second one coming, but when they announced they were going to have their first child, there actually was some pushback from the other royals about, because Meghan Markle is, I don't know, what is her Mediterranean, Biff? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
But she's not a white Caucasian. I honestly, I don't know her background. But I guess there was some concern among the royals that he might be a dark baby. Here's what Harry had to say about that.
That conversation I'm never going to share. But at the time it was awkward. I was a bit shocked.
Can you tell us what the question was?
No, I'm not comfortable sharing that.
Okay.
But that was right at the beginning, right?
Like, what will the baby look like?
Yeah, what will the kids look like?
Yeah, what will the kids look like?
But that was right at the beginning when she wasn't going to get security, when members of my family were suggesting that she carries on acting because there's not enough money to pay for her and all this sort of stuff. Like, there was some real obvious signs before we even got married that this was going to be really hard.
I do like that. He keeps saying, I'm not going to tell you. Well, I guess I'll tell you. And as he pointed out there, as Harry pointed out in that part of the interview, he really did have a lot of fear for his wife, Meghan Markle, being attacked. And he drew the correlation between his fear of some of the media and royal family attacks on Meghan Markle and the similar things that happened to his late mother, Princess Di.
My biggest concern was history repeating itself. And I've said that before, on numerous occasions very publicly. And what I was seeing was history repeating itself, but more perhaps, or definitely far more dangerous, because then you add race in and you add social media in. And when I'm talking about history repeating itself, I'm talking about my mother. When you can see something happening in the same kind of way, anybody would ask for help, ask the system of which you are part of, especially when you know there's a relationship there that they could help and share some truth or call the dogs off, whatever you want to call it. So to receive no help at all and to be told continuously, this is how it is, this is just how it is, we've all been through it. And I think the biggest turning point for me was and it didn't take very long, so actually right at the beginning was, okay, this union, having a girlfriend, was going to be a thing. Of course it was. But I never expected, or I never thought...
Because she was mixed race?
No, just the two of us to start with.
So there you go. All right, that's my extent of sharing that interview with you. You know what, Biffy, though, I think I will see if Victoria can join us tomorrow. She's a royal watcher. She comes from Great Britain. Maybe she can put this in some perspective as to why we should care. But I've done my duty. Just like ABC News, I have now given you a little bit of the Meghan and Harry interview. Did any of you watch it? I mean, am I being ridiculous about this? Maybe it's a big deal to some of you. 304-214-1600, 304-214-1600. If you think it was a big deal, if you watched the interview, if you feel that I'm being a little bit, I'm throwing a little bit too much shade on this whole thing, by all means, text me and let me know. I could be wrong, but I think I'm with Biff. I think I said earlier this morning, my wife at one point said, "Oh, is the Oprah interview with Meghan and Harry on tonight?" And I said, "Yes, surely you don't think we're going to watch it, do you?" And she said no. So that's it. We've done our Meghan and Harry story of the morning. I want to get back to Governor Justice in a minute or two. I want to get back to this business of opening the state up. And is it a good news, bad news story? It's kind of both. It's good news if you're a business, a restaurant. He's opening things up. But remember what Dr. Milton told us last week, Biffy? Don't spike the ball before you cross the goal line.
Yep.
I think we're spiking the ball a tad too soon here. We will talk about that. And if you're upset because you haven't gotten your vaccine yet, wait till I tell you who has gotten a vaccine. That'll get you really ticked off. It's coming up next on the Watchdog Morning Show.
Listen to the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
I'm Josh from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. I hope you are staying healthy. We continue to respond to structural, fire, and water emergencies. We are combating COVID-19 with our highly trained staff and latest disinfection systems, providing preventative and reactive disinfection to facilities around the region, while working with area hospitals on isolation areas and air filtering. At Panhandle, we continue to follow social distancing and hygiene protocols. We are dedicated to our community, and together, we will get through this.
There are times when you shouldn't ignore what your body is telling you, and you need to seek medical care. At Wheeling Hospital, we want you to know that we are taking every precaution to make your visit as safe as possible. We're screening visitors using the latest infection control technologies, offering telehealth for physician visits, and more. This is true throughout our campus, in our ER Trauma Center, our physician offices, surgical center, and on our patient floors. The pandemic isn't over, but be assured that at Wheeling Hospital, we are here when you need us.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I love living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Say I love living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
Valley Grove. The Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Valley Grove trusts the Watchdog.
It's your turn to talk. From politics to pet peeves, get it off your chest and on the air. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
Walking down the road, tell me how long you gonna stay here, Joe?
Even freezing 32 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport here at my home studios in Elm Grove and at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Now, the number of people complaining about not getting their vaccines has calmed down a little bit in the last couple of weeks, Biffy. A month or so ago, everybody was just angry as all get out, and our social media pages were filled with just vitriol all over the place. Why can't I get my vaccine? My mother is 84 years old and she can't get her vaccine. Something stinky. People are doing bad things. And the reason was, of course, there was minimal amount of vaccine coming into the state and all across the country. It has increased significantly now. I mentioned, for example, last week, when I got my first vaccine over a month ago, there were only 100 vaccines available in Ohio County on that particular week. 110 to be precise, I think. And then last week, there were 12 to 1,500 available. So the flow of vaccines is coming, and more people are getting them. And I'm seeing more and more people showing pictures of their vaccine card and all that kind of good stuff online. There are still some folks who are grumbling, but not nearly the way it was before. But there are still some folks grumbling. So if you haven't had your vaccine yet, this story can make you grumble. San Diego Zoo announced that they are inoculating their gorillas. The gorillas are getting the COVID vaccine.
Why?
4 orangutans and 5 bonobos are in the process of being vaccinated. The zoo would only admit that, quote, some of the members of the great apes were being vaccinated. Zoetis, that's one of the producers of the vaccine, provided our veterinarians with a limited supply of the vaccine intended for use in protecting animals. The vaccine originated from supply. Well, all right, I guess the good news is it says here the vaccine was a supply strictly intended for non-human use. But if you're waiting to get your vaccine, think about this. The monkeys at the San Diego Zoo have gotten their vaccine. And Biffy, you'll notice I just sort of glossed over your question, why?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Zoo said the animals are getting 2 shots 3 weeks apart, just like the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine.
What, they couldn't find the Johnson & Johnson and just give them one?
Just give them one.
I mean, that wouldn't that have made more sense? Call Johnson & Johnson and say, hey, we got our gorillas we want to vaccinate here. Can we just get the 1 shot for them and that's it?
Officials say they have seen no adverse reactions in the gorillas. So
they haven't attacked anyone yet, or
Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, this could be the beginning of a made-for-TV movie, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's got all the makings.
The gorillas get the vaccine, and in a couple of days they begin to have a reaction, and they go out and
terrorize.
They get great intelligence and begin to attack the humans or something. I don't know.
They start terrorizing the San Diego Zoo all of a sudden.
I shouldn't laugh. I don't know. But so if you haven't gotten your vaccine yet, keep in mind the gorillas, the monkeys at the San Diego Zoo have gotten their vaccine. Oh, God. Somebody's getting ticked off right now. Somebody's going, "You got to be kidding me! I'm going to."
I hope they're not driving if they do.
Yeah. Could be my daughter-in-law. She's the only one in our family who hasn't gotten the vaccine yet. She has no special, well, she actually does. She has an autoimmune disease, but she's too young. You know, my kids all are in healthcare positions or in, healthcare positions, essentially, where they got the vaccine early, and my wife and I are of age, so we got the vaccine. My poor daughter-in-law, I don't have anybody. Is there any way I can get my vaccine, please? I'd like to have a vaccine. Can somebody get me a vaccine? She's working on it. Governor Justice on Friday decided to open everything up for business. Pretty much everything up. Actually, not everything. You know what's not open for business yet, Biffy?
What's that?
Strip clubs.
Oh, yeah.
Strip. For whatever reason, the strip clubs were not allowed to get back to their normal routine. The Governor Justice says,
I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble, but who cares? I think it has something to do with the social distancing. Would it be tough?
I think, let me check it here. It says, yep, in order to achieve proper social in a strip bar, you must keep at least $6 bills apart. At least that's what my son who works in the health department said to me last night. He goes, Dad, you know who they haven't done yet? Who? Strip clubs. Strip clubs are still, honest to God. The Governor Justice has restored full seating capacity for restaurants and bars and retail stores, grocery stores, and all those kinds of things. 100% seating capacity. Now, listen, I understand the economic problems that restaurants and bars have had. Although I have to say, I think most restaurants and bars have really been creative in trying to find ways to keep their business going. I know I've talked to some restaurant owners who say they've actually seen their business increase because of delivery and curbside and so on. But I get it. I mean, I really do get it that the limited capacity has harmed restaurants and bars.
And I think for some businesses, don't be surprised if that's, what they start using more or hope for is more delivery and pickup if it's been doing so well.
I think you'll see. Yep.
If we do get back to, what normal, I don't even know what normal would be, but when we get back to some sense of normalcy, I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the things that's a carryover from this.
I absolutely agree. I think, and you know what? I think it's a carryover that we, the public, I was seeing a lot of social media comments from friends, real friends of mine on Facebook, about how, they've got their vaccine and, things are looking good. But they're saying, you know what? I'm probably just going to still have a lot of food brought to the house, a lot of delivery. I think delivery, I think that the pandemic opened up the need for delivery, and then restaurants discovered a real profit center there. And we, the people, discovered, hey, this is a pretty good deal. They bring it to my house. I like that. But I can't help but think, remember just last week, we talked to Dr. Clark Milton from Wheeling Hospital, and the one line that he used, the analogy he gave us, Biffy, which I thought was a great one. He said, because we were talking about Texas at that point opening up, he said, don't spike the ball before you cross the goal line. Especially when you're so close. And that's what concerns me. We are close to the goal line in West Virginia. We really are. We're watching COVID numbers go down, death rates go down, hospitalizations go down. Everything is looking very good. But it is still out there. Some of the numbers are still high. While they're on the decline, the actual numbers are still up with some of the worst months we've had of the past year. So we are not out of the woods. And yet the governor wants to open us all up for business. And my great fear, I hope I'm wrong. I mean it sincerely. I literally pray that I am wrong. But my great fear is in another month, we're going to start to see the numbers go up dramatically. I think the governor is doing this as a test run. I think he wants to see within a couple weeks what happens. And if everything is the way it is now on March 8th and numbers are looking good and everything, I think he's going to relax some more orders. However, and if the football does get spiked before we cross the goal line here, I think then you're going to see, start the rollbacks again and everything. But I think the governor's doing this now as a test run. Here's what frustrates me personally, I told my wife this yesterday. I've had the vaccine, weather's getting better, I'm feeling more like getting out and doing things. I still want to be very cautious, still wear my mask wherever I go and so on. But I said to my wife, I was thinking maybe we would try going to a restaurant where everybody's socially distant and, they're not limited capacity. So maybe I would I'd give it a try. And then now I'm going to be 100%. I don't want to go into a full restaurant. I don't want to do that. So I was thinking about going in to eat. Now it's like, okay, I'm back to ordering, bringing home again. I'm really concerned that this is a mistake. Texas, of course, opened up. And by the way, the Governor Justice says masks still required. The mask mandate is still in effect. Now, you're right. If after a few weeks things seem to continue to be going the right way, he may release the mask mandate too, and maybe let strip clubs. I don't know. Museums, fitness centers, travel sports teams can play statewide. Bars, restaurants, retail stores, all our small businesses can all go up to 100% capacity once again. No congregating in large groups near the entrances of restaurants or bars. I don't get that. And once you open the doors and say, "Come on in, full capacity," don't stand in the waiting room. I don't know. I don't know. I think he's making a mistake. In Texas, they opened up a week or so ago, and some of the small businesses that in Texas said, the businesses themselves, it's too soon. It's too soon. And some of them are still requiring masks and are still following the old protocols. Now, I saw a story on CNN yesterday. It's so depressing. One restaurant in, I forget where it is, but it's in Texas. One restaurant in Texas is getting actually death threats, literally physical threats, because they're still requiring people to wear a mask. They've decided that whether the governor says not to wear one or not is irrelevant. They believe it's still important to do it, so their policy still is to wear a mask, and they're getting death threats from people.
Yeah, see, that's going too far.
Of course it is.
I mean, so what? They that's their decision. If they want to do that, fine. You know what you as a customer should do if you don't like it? Don't go there.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Go somewhere else.
Just don't go there.
Why are you going to pick on a business because of what their decision is? They're choosing to do that. Okay, great. That's their decision. Why you got to get on them for it?
And I'll be curious to see what restaurants around here may or may not continue limited capacity. You remember when the governor first opened up for dine-in after he shut everything down completely early in the COVID cases, and then he opened things up for, you can have limited dine-in. There were several restaurants that said, no, we're just not going to do it. We're not going to have dine-in. We'll continue with delivery and pickup and so on, but we don't feel comfortable with that yet. I just wonder if any of them will do that now. But I can't, but when the governor made that announcement on Friday, I couldn't help but think of Dr. Milton's comments. Don't spike the ball before you cross the goal line. And I don't think we've crossed the goal line yet. I've got a few other odds and ends I want to get to on the national scene. We'll do that coming up in a minute. But first, we better check some Ohio Valley headlines and look around the state with our friends from Metro News.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
main event took place at Madison Square Garden. Ali versus Frazier, and the winner, Joe Frazier. I will not disagree with that. Meanwhile, writer Jim O'Brien is the only surviving member of the press that was at ringside in New York on that night. He would join me in the 1 o'clock hour on the variety show. Hey, be safe out there. Be considerate of others. Please check on the elderly. I'm Bill DeFabio on sports, and we are, and always will be, the Watchdog.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them, just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gellner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at GellnerLaw.com.
We'd like to help.
It's been almost a year since high school basketball action's been on the Watchdog Network. But Tuesday, March 9th, it's back. AM 1600 WKKX, the Weirton Red Riders come to East Wheeling to take on the Wheeling Central Maroon Knights. And on AM 1370 WVLY, John Marshall travels to Wheeling Park High School to take on the Patriots. You can also listen online at watchdognetwork.com.
He rambles, he rants, and sometimes he sings. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
13 until the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show, and even freezing 32 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 32 here at the home studios in Elm Grove. 32 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. We were talking about the vaccines, and I said most people are, fewer people are complaining now, but some people still are. Christine sends me this note off of our Facebook Live feed. Howard, it is frustrating waiting for the shots, especially when people in their 50s are getting the vaccine. The drugstores are supposed to work off the state website, and it's not happening that way. I am confused with that as well, Christine. I was under the impression that whether you went to Walgreens or CVS or whoever you went to, I was under the impression that everybody, you could go directly to Walgreens, you could go directly to CVS, get on, tell them that you're interested. But I thought it all had to go through that state clearinghouse, if you will. And I'm beginning to think some people are finding ways to get around that. And I don't understand it. I've asked a little bit and I haven't gotten a real answer to that. But Christine, I think you're absolutely right. It's not happening that way. And I'm not sure how or why. I guess I'll have to work harder on trying to find out about that. But I appreciate your comment on that. And we've spent a lot of time talking about the income tax reduction plan in West Virginia. A few other things are making their way through the legislature as well. Here's our morning Capitol report to take a look at what's coming up today.
This is the Metro News Capitol Report.
more conversation about the legislature coming up with Hoppy Kercheval, statewide talk line. Clay Marsh, the coronavirus czar, will be the first of the guests coming up today with Hoppy beginning after 10 o'clock. Let me see what else has Hoppy got going on here real quick. Hoppy's got that. Come on, here we go. Hoppy Kercheval. Clay Marsh will kick things off at 10:06 this morning. Kanawha County Delegate Larry Rowe will be in to talk about he is opposing the intermediate court idea. He'll talk about that. Senator Ron Stallings was concerned about SB 334. I don't know what that is. Hoppy, tell me what it is. On its amendment stage in the Senate today. And, of course, Brad McElhenney will be in as well. Greg Thomas, a Republican political consultant, will talk about legal reforms being considered in the state legislature. And Tony Caridi and Brad Howell will be in to talk about the WVU Oklahoma State game. That's all coming up today on Statewide Talk Line. It gets underway at 10:06 this morning here on the Watchdog.
I can summarize that West Virginia game for you here in a little bit real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Typical of what West Virginia has done all year. They keep the game close, have a chance to win, either miss some free throws, turnovers, they go cold late when they don't need to, and they let another game get away that they possibly could have won. And it hurts because that would have been Coach Huggins' 900th win, and they had everything ready to go for it, and West Virginia just, like you've seen them do a couple times this year, they let another one really get away from them.
Yeah, well, Tony talked about that bit during the Mountaineer Report earlier this morning, and he will talk more about it coming up. Tony was pretty harsh on him, too, I thought, this morning. And Tony will talk more about it today coming up on Statewide Talk Line here on the Watchdog. Watchdog Madness is underway here. We're getting ready for March Madness just a week from today. 1 week from today will be our Selection Monday, right, Biffy? I'm doing my math right, correct?
Yes, as long as 8 plus 7 is still 15, you would be correct.
Just double checking here. So a week from yesterday is Selection Sunday in the NBA. So, or not NBA, but in the March Madness, you get all the brackets selected on a week from yesterday. A week from today, we'll have our Watchdog Madness Selection Monday. Here's the way it works. We ask you to call in and get registered to be a contestant in the Watchdog Madness contest. We will, between myself and Bill and Big Rick and Donnie tomorrow, we will take 64 callers, and you each will then be in the bin. And next Monday, after we have the 64 names drawn for the brackets, we will draw names out of our bin, and we will randomly draw a name out of the 64 selections, and we'll link the two of you up, and then you'll be on our March Madness, our Watchdog Madness bracket board, and whoever stays alive through to the end with the team they were randomly selected with will win a Watchdog TV. I guess you call it a Watchdog TV, a big screen TV. And if you would like to call in, we'll take, Biffy, do we need one or two today? What do you think?
We can get two in.
All right, we'll take two callers at 304-232-8255, 304-232-TALK. Give a call to Brother Biff. He'll need to get some info from you. We need two callers to be our contestants. You'll go into the bin for the Watchdog Madness contest. While Biff is doing that, I'll talk to our friend Bob Westfall over at the Big Seven. Good morning and happy Monday, Bob.
Bob Westfall and John Lynch.
No. Good
try.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah, you're right. Good try. But doesn't work that way. I think, because believe me, I know it doesn't work that way because I've tried. And they keep telling me, no, you can't, Howard. I even tried putting my grandson's name in. They said, no, you can't do that. No. So I'm sorry, Bob.
I guess there are rules for a reason.
I suppose so. I try and skirt them as often as I can, but sometimes they catch me. What are you working on today? I want something exciting going on at the Big Seven. What are you working on today?
Don't put me on the spot or anything there, pal. Appreciate that. Waterline project begins in Wheeling. This is going to take a while. Should begin today. We're going to follow up on that. We did a little bit of a preview last week. These lines are from the 1880s, so needless to say, they have absolutely need replaced. City of Wheeling, obviously trying to get more businesses downtown, are going to need better infrastructure. So they are working on that today. So that is something I'm going to check out, how long it's going to take, things like that. A couple other things we're working on, our Healthcare Heroes stuff that we ran the last few weeks. Our first thank you is today. Wheeling Hospital, we're going to be thanking them for the work they've done during the pandemic. A couple other things we're working on. We're literally within a week of when everything started closing down in the state of West Virginia. I was talking to a couple of the people at the library last week, the 15th. Everything started shutting down. That's when everything started to be closed and things like that. So we're going to kind of take a look at that here on the next few days about what happened a year ago. I was sitting this weekend thinking about I spent my last birthday literally working from home in quarantine. Part of it seems like it was so long ago, and part of it seems like it was just yesterday. So we're going to take a look at what this last year has meant. That's something we're working on. And something the Virtual Lions Club is doing, I really like this. They're little free libraries. They've taken old newspaper boxes, and they're turning them into free libraries, and they're going to place them around the town. So I kind of like that. So that's something we're working on today. So a little bit of everything. Some good news, a lot of good news today. So I'm really excited about that.
And sewer work doesn't sound exciting, but actually it's a big story because it's going to create a lot of potential traffic problems and so on. And it's going to be a long project, right? So people need to be aware of it because it's going to create some rerouting of traffic for quite some time. So people need to be aware of that. All right, so we'll look forward. Go ahead.
And it's just not downtown. I understand there's some in the Woodsdale area going on as well. So.
Yep.
We're everywhere.
It's something people need to be aware of. We'll check things out at noon, 5, 6, 10, 11, 5:30 statewide show, and always at WTRF.com.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks a lot. Sorry you, Johnny, couldn't get into the contest, but...
Yeah, well, I will try a different name tomorrow.
There you go. There you go. I like that. Talk to you tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Real quick, do we have two contestants? Okay, we got one.
Yep.
All right, we've got one, and we're going to head off to ABC News. They cover the world next. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. Are you back with me?
Back for a Tuesday.
We'll keep on doing it till we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
You see that I'll be back.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Security is tight for jury selection that begins today in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis police officer charged with murdering George Floyd.
Okie dokie. Did we not? We just didn't get a second contestant. Okay, there we go. I got you. All right, well, it's not our fault then, at least. All right. How many do we have so far? Do you have a list of what we've got? Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, you're going to have to keep don't let me go too many by the end of the week, because if we have too many, we've got a problem, so. Okay, very good. All right, I think I might call Victoria, see if she wants to talk about the royal people tomorrow. She likes that shit. I can't stand it, but might be something to do. Of course, we got Squiddy Airy too. So, all right, we'll see what happens. I will be around if you need me for anything. I got Teddy all day, so we're gonna. If it warms up, we're probably going down to the park for a little bit, I think. Yeah, time to get back out and do some things outside. And, of course, it's a lot warmer outside probably than it's going to be here in the house at the rate I'm looking at things here. Gee, mini Christmas. So hopefully the furnace man can get here today. I know they're probably not going to fix it in one day, so I want them to get here today because it'll probably take a couple days before they get it. Yeah, exactly. All right, if you need me, give me a call. I'll be around. Otherwise, I'll just talk to you tomorrow. Yep. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Targeting you, but don't delay. It's important to act now while you still have options. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. Optima has already resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get your life back. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima now for your free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Protests continuing in Myanmar after last month's military coup. Reports there today say security forces shot